Yay! GSAMP, November 2022. Welcome. We have been on a very interesting adventure for the last 11 months. The format of GSAMP is kind of like naturally changing into something where I sequence multiple months together instead of having just individual standalone themes each month that like created the possibility of someone being able to come in at any time without feeling like, whoa, what did I miss last month or whatever. That's not the way the creative impulse is coming through me right now. And I think it's in many parts because there's much deeper work that we need to be doing to sustain our energy bodies and actually help them upgrade with all the energies coming in. So just to recap quickly, we starting December 2021 until April 2022, we went into a series of calls that were about helping to activate all the doorways through which you can intake and integrate more smoothly all the ascension particles, all the energies coming at us from the cosmos, from the solar flares, from deeper in the universe. So there was a total of 7 different ascension particles that we looked at and 9 physical doorways. And that's what we did in a 5-month sequence part. And that's called activating essential particles. And you can, if you're coming into this later on in the program, you can just purchase that 5-month sequence. That 5-month sequence ended with talking about the energetic doorways through which the ascension particles come in. We tapped into some of them through the energetic doorways that are not chakras that we're used to. So the clairsentience chakra, like the chakras that we looked at that were in the emotional body and the mental bodies. And then, of course, the 7 main chakras of the etheric body, which most of us are accustomed to by now. They're the ones you always hear about in yoga and whatever, the rainbow colors and all that kind of stuff. So after that 5-month sequence, we went into a 6-month sequence talking about I focused it completely on the auric field. So the auric field being where all these chakras are, because chakras are part of the auric field. You don't have chakras on other levels of your being. You don't have chakras in your core star. You don't have chakras in your Hara Line. You don't have chakras in your physical body per se. They're all within the auric field. So we kind of deep dived into that a lot. We went into working on each of the different chakras, the personal will, love, and mind, and the heart as the bridge, and then the divine will, love, and mind as the divine and human aspects of us, which were amazing calls as well. That whole series, that whole 6-month series is basically called Back to the Energy Body Basics. And then in the last call, I started going into telling you about the 4 levels of being. The core star level, the deepest level of yourself. That's where your core essence is. That's where your individuated God essence resides. And from there emanates the Haric level, the Hara, where you have your Hara line and your soul seat that contains your soul desires, your Tantien, which is your ability to bring up from Mother Earth the resources you need in order to accomplish, what your soul longs to do in this life. And, of course, the individuation point on the top and the molten core lava at the bottom. So, and then from this level of being is generated the aura and everything that we normally refer to when we're talking about energy bodies, so the subtle bodies, the chakras, all the energy lines you see between people, the emanations you see from plants and trees, and like all that's part of what's often called the HEF, the human energy field. But that's only one level of your being, and from that auric energy level, consciousness level, emanates the physical body, emanates anything that becomes physical, emanates what's called living flesh. So I find it very beautiful to look at it like that, like it's a transmutation process each level transmutes and becomes something else. The core star essence transmutes and becomes intention. Intention transmutes and becomes energy consciousness. Energy consciousness transmutes and becomes living flesh. So that's, that's the creative process in a nutshell, from undivided core essence, from which swells up this deep longing to create, which is our absolute natural birthright as individuated particles of God. It's the deepest pleasure we can experience. And we're not talking about like pleasure, human idea of pleasure and pain, not that, like divine pleasure. It's, how could we even talk about that? Really, it's the deepest longing you could ever imagine connecting to. And as I was reading about it today, it was so cute. It was like, your deepest longing could also be called your magnificent obsession. I love that. It's like I'm divine OCD over here, It's like, bring it. So, yeah. As we're playing with this, I started mentioning to you last month that we consider the creative process to be, we go from unmanifested into light, into intention, into an energy consciousness, an intelligent energy field that then becomes matter, right? And then we think that that's it. We think that's the creation. So for example, I had this deep longing to create artwork. That's coming from deep at the divine level of just wanting to, it's like a deep longing to create more beauty, and then the intention of I'm bringing that into the world. And then your energy field is how you're going to go about it. You feel things, you have thoughts and ideas and inspirations and intuitions, and then you use your physical body to make them become physical objects. And then you have a painting, let's say, right? So that's what we consider, okay, that's the creation process. I have done the creation. But that's only halfway through. And this is where it gets really interesting. That is only half of the creative process. Because the goal of creation is for you to bring that back through the levels into your core to create even more light. This is huge. This is so cool when we start tapping into this, and I want to tap into this more and more in the next couple of months and really talk about how it flows through each level. But tonight, my goal is for us to have an experience of what that means and what that looks like, because most of us on Earth, I think it's because we're kind of stuck in our egos and we kind of forget this, but we don't bring our creations back all the way into our core. Most of the time, when we're done with something, it's like, okay, I created it, it's over. And it just kind of stays there, and no one has really taught us or mentored us or whatever, into a deeper understanding that the whole goal of creating that is to have, it's almost like, it's to have a mirror of your essence made manifest. Second. It's so touching for me that it makes me want to cry. So I'm just kind of calm down. Talking and crying at the same time is hard. So what you're doing when you create something from your soul level, or even deeper than your soul, from your essence level, you get to see yourself. You get to see your light and your essence made manifest. And then the goal is to bring that back in, to bring it back in through the field, through the levels, through the aura, through the chakras, through the subtle bodies, through the Hara Line, all the way back into the core star. And that is the true goal of creation. is to create more individuated God essence, is to create more of us being these unique expressions of the undifferentiated, undivided light that is universal God mind, or whatever you want to call it, source. Effie Homestar is a term we use with in the advanced program. That's the goal. That's what God wants as us, is for us to bring more and more unique to us. And it really is unique to us. This is a thing we need to understand. Most people think enlightenment means you just kind of go back in the light and then your self is pulverized and you're just back one with source and there's nothing left of you, you know? And that's a huge issue that makes a lot of people be afraid of enlightenment. People are scared shitless of no self state. They really are, because it really does feel like you will be annihilated and torn to pieces and there's nothing left of you. That's the ego fear. And I want to tap into that a little bit. Not too much because I don't want to go into Course in Miracles too deep, but your ego is incapable of creating anything. And this is the battle within us. You know, you have a core essence, which is pure God source made manifest through you, with a deep desire of extension, of extending what it is through you, of extending the creation process through you, which makes us co-creators with the divine. We're never going to be creators in the sense that we have been created and we are extensions of that. We can co-create with our creator by being aligned with divine will, you know, by having our upper chakras and lower chakras united into one field where our personal mind and divine mind are one. That doesn't mean that your personal mind is pulverized. It just means that your intention is in alignment with divine intention. And divine intention is that you create more individuated essence. So this is not like, you know, God's got a will. You have to do what he tells you to do. Like, it's not like that. It's not like that. It never has been. Humans and egos made that shit up. You know, if you don't follow the divine will, you're going to get punished and you're going to go to hell and all this BS of our belief systems. Because that's short for belief system, BS. Right? So by understanding that, I'm cracking up Anna over there. By understanding that, we start understanding that there is no such thing as a separation between your deepest will and divine will. I'm pretty sure all of us are here to have fun, experience pleasure, have creative energies flow through us, and bring into the world what we most long to experience. Like, no one's going to be like, no, that's not what I want. Like, I want pain and suffering and fighting with everyone. And like, no one wants that. You know, that's just created by the pain and the defense structures that we have that make us afraid to let that energy flow, to allow ourselves to be extensions of God, extensions of the divine impulse to create more light. That's it. Create more light. Create more individuated, shiny essence. And we bring that back. When we die, you know, when we die in this little physical body, everything we have created and has amplified our divine core individuated essence is brought back to the creator as a gift. I think we've all tapped into that enough to understand, like, anyone that has children, we know how awesome it feels to give gifts, you know, to give gifts that are based on deep love. It's just like, what I'm bringing to you, you know? And when you bring that gift back, you don't lose it. That's, once again, that's ego stuff. Ego's like, well, I have this glass of water, and if I give it to you, then I don't have water anymore. You know, that's how it thinks, right? But that's not the way essence and ideas work at all. If I share my ideas with you, if I share my essence with you, it amplifies it in me and it amplifies yours. There's no lack. No one's losing anything. Everything's getting amplified and extended more and more. That's creation. That's essence level creation. And you being in this body is you coming to bring more individuated God light essence into your core, to then bring it back up to God, up to source as a gift. And if everyone could understand this, I think a lot of the fear of enlightenment would melt pretty quickly. You don't lose it. You don't lose it by bringing it back in there. You bringing back your individuated core essence into universal God essence amplifies how unique and diversified it is. And that is the goal. That is the deep celebration of life, to manifest all these forms and all these creations and create a symphony of light and love. So how cool is that we get to be here when you start looking at life like that? Sorry, shoving it up well from my heart chakra. What motivates the core essence is the pleasure of creation. The results, what that creates, is joy and fulfillment. There is no deeper joy and fulfillment than bringing your creations into reality and receiving the gifts of these creations back into your core essence. That's it, man. That's divine pleasure. That's joyful soul expansion. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes. Yeah. Jacks. So before I talk about the actual 4 phases of creation, I want to just mention what happens with how ego tries to go about doing things. You know, it's not, ego is not bad. It's just, as of now, as of yet, ego is a fearful thought. So as a thought that is based on fear, its range of possibilities is quite limited, you know, because it's like, I got to avoid this, I got to avoid that, that could happen, this could happen, that's dangerous, and it's going about life like this. So it's like, it's all boxed in to a defense structure, and it's trying to manage and make sure that no cracks show up in that defense structure that would actually let the light in, that would pulverize it. Because it's a fearful thought. And the fearful thought of ego will be pulverized by the light. And then ego can actually become what it's meant to be, which is a healthy adult self. Okay, not a wounded child with a bunch of programs and then a bunch of defense structures and a bunch of compensation mechanisms in order to not feel that stuff. That's what that looks like right now. It's very convoluted and it's very complicated, and it doesn't allow a lot of core essence to flow through it. It's scared shitless of having that core essence flow through it. So when, you know, like a book like Course in Miracles talks about God versus the ego, and like it has a lot of concepts like that. It's trying to train you into non-dual thinking. One of the things that it explains is that ego makes things. It makes things. Spirit creates things. It's very different. So with this understanding of the core star level, it's easier to understand what creating means. Creating means allowing that, you know, universal God energy that is the essence contained in you in an individualized, unique to you format to come forward and create, bring into the world the deepest soul longings that you have. Whereas the ego only understands how to make things, and it's making things out of fear. And the reality is that nothing made survives. Nothing that we make survives. Death. It's empty. Literally. It doesn't have light in it. I'm sure we can look back on our lives and realize the things we've created versus the things we've made. Like, if I give you an example, your entire belief system is made up. You made that shit up, and it's based on the belief system that I was already there when you were born, and that you plugged into and you believed. None of that stuff is real. None of that stuff is true. No belief is true. That's such a weird concept to deal with. No belief is true. Light and love are true, and there are no beliefs within light and love. They are states of being. They are not dualistic things that could be false or true. They are. Just letting that sink in. I don't know if you can feel that. It's just, it just sinks right into the lower heart. Like, there is what is, and there is what is not. What is the energy of creation. What is not is everything that's been fabricated and made up. And most of the false light matrix is all of that. Like, just waiting if there's anything else coming in about that. And of course, ego has a deep desire that what it makes could become a creation, And then we go into this whole field of the difference between what is eternal and what attempts to be immortal, to transcend the matter state. Greeks were really into that. The Greeks were all about like, if I have a big enough life, I will be remembered in the history books, and I will therefore be immortal. Because even when I die, I will still be remembered. That's a very ego-ish version of trying to connect to eternal stuff in a convoluted way that doesn't really work. Whereas everything that you truly are, you yourself are already a creation. You are an extension of the creator. As such, you are a creation. And as an extension of the creator, you benefit from all the same faculties as the creator. So you as well create. And that's what we want to do. We want to be these creators more and more. Bring into the world more love, more light. Create things that resonate with our core essence and our deep soul longings. And the more we do that, the more we radiate, the more that light, it just literally radiates through the pores of your skin. It radiates through the core of each of your cells. And that is literally the deepest gift you could ever give, not only to yourself, but to every living being, whether manifest or unmanifest, in this entire field of existence. So we're going to play a little bit with that tonight. And we're going to go about it by exploring the 4 phases of creation, the 4 phases of the creative pulse. Well, I think I want to embody it with talking about how the breath cycles work, because it's the same process there too. So the 4 phases of the creative pulse is status, expansion, status, contraction. It all starts from deep within the velvet void that is deep within the core star. It is a place of unmanifested, undivided, pure life. It is absolutely still, absolutely still. Everything is in there, yet it is completely still. And through your longing, through the longing of your essence to experience the pleasure of creating, that velvet void is ignited. It gets ignited by your longing. And from there, there is an expansion that happens. And that's the expansion of the core star into the Hara level, into the Auric Field, into physical form. Once you get all the way out there, status. Once again, there's like a deep stillness that comes in. And, they've even like kind of measured it. Like often it's like, let's say you have some kind of big success, 2 to 3 days later, it's like, there's just a natural process that'll happen where things will calm down and we don't understand that. We're like, oh my God, it was so awesome. And all of a sudden it's all like fucked up and boring and nothing's going on. And no, that's actually, that's okay. That's okay. That's the like, okay. And then the process of contraction starts. Contraction, like not in a negative sense, like not in an ego contraction sense, but in the sense of bringing that creation from the physical manifestation of it back through your field. It would be called self-reflection most of the time, or contemplation, right? We bring it back. We kind of like ponder what we've created. We look at it, we receive it. It goes deeper into the Hara level and it's like, boom, okay, another piece of my soul seat's deepest longing, done. That line is created. Okay, boom, all the way back into the core star, where it literally merges with the core star and becomes more individuated essence, more unique to your soul and your spiritual frequency, the true gift you are bringing. So there's like stillness, expansion, stillness, contraction, back into the core. And then stillness again, status, and then expansion through the levels, completion, rest, digest, bring it back into the core, integration. Technically, we're doing this all the time. We just don't notice it. Like, think about the breath. Your breath is the same thing. This movement of expansion and contraction is everywhere in the universe. There is no being or force or whatever, planet, star, gas, whatever, that isn't going through that process all the time. And then this is where it gets kind of psychedelic trippy, is that we're going through multiple forms of that all the time. Some are slow, some are fast, some are, some we started 20 years ago, some of them we started 2 days ago. Like, so try to imagine this, right? Like that core star level, that, like that 3 fingers above your belly button, and all its like luminescent 360-degree rays coming out everywhere. Imagine that every single one of them is this. It's kind of like this creative process, and it's all beaming. Some of it's like coming back in, some of it's going out, and it's all an expansion contraction process, just like your breath. I had a really cool yoga session before I went to Costa Rica. It was on I think it was on the new moon. It was like right before I went to Costa Rica, so 5th of October. No, whatever, whenever the new moon was in October. And she explained how your breath cycle is like the waxing and waning of the moon. And it was so powerful, because then we did breath work following that idea. And as I was kind of like working on the theme of tonight, I realized that that's exactly what we do. That's exactly what we do with the creative process. So you start completely empty from completely exhaling your body, you are in the status place, right? Which is the new moon. The new moon, where all the potentials are there. Everything is like a blank screen. And what do you want to bring into the world? What are the intentions you want to bring to fruition? And then the inhale is like the waxing. It's like the moon coming to full moon, top of the breath. Stillness is the full moon. That's like the equivalent of that creation that you've brought into the world. There's that status again. And then the exhale is the contraction back into the stillness of the new moon. And it was really beautiful to look at it that way. And we were doing counts, right? Like 4 seconds, hold, 4 seconds, inhale, 4 seconds, hold, 4 seconds, exhale, and kind of tapping into seeing the full moon in the head and the new moon in the root chakra. I'm going to make us do that a little bit during the meditation. Which I think I'm going to start pretty much now, even though there's a bunch of other stuff I want to say. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I think I've given enough information. Part of the reason I do this, that I give you all this information, and I just kind of like Aquarius style, just dump it on you, is so that your mind gets a bone to chew on. You know, your mind got candy. Like, it's not like you come into this call and it's like, okay, leave your mind at the door, you know, like F your mind, we don't want it here. And so if we try to do that, the mind will interfere so much with the meditation process, because it's kind of like, hey, what about me? You know, like, so, so I give you all this information, and then the mind's like, okay, almost like to the point where it's like, the mind's like, okay, it's all good. You can stop giving information now. I'm ready to rest and observe. So just so you understand, that's generally my goal with the amount of downloaded information that I give you. And then we go into a process. We'll go into a process with our spiritual energy and our embodied presence. And I'm going to just bring you back into the core star and just talk through a little bit of the layers. And then we're going to have fun understanding what happens when it comes back. What happens when it comes back? Because most of us, I can almost guarantee that we have had a tendency to not bring our creations back into our core essence. You know, because we're in this ego world where it's like, okay, it's done. I produced it. Now it's over. Now I got to go create something else, you know, and we forgot the whole idea of bringing it all the way back in through deep self-reflection, deep, like coming back into the core of ourselves. And that's what I propose that we do. So let's have some fun.